Well, welcome to the Botanical Medicine Update for July 14th, 2025, with me, your host and instructor for the Botanical Medicine Study course. If you would like to receive Herb of the Week or take the course or order individual lessons, please visit the Botanical Medicine Study course Patreon page for details, and there's a link in the program notes if you would like to do any of those things. Now, with our new program content on the channel, we will be exploring newsworthy updates ranging from consumer trends, new research, or even seasonal focus. Now, I know there's much going on all levels these days, but it's still summer, and if you're like me, a good read is one way to spend the longer days and warmer weekends. My parents had a house up in the mountains where I could go for a few days at a time during the summer, and I always tackled a couple books when I was up there during the hot summer months. I thought it would be fun to suggest a few books that I have read recently, which I think everyone should read. While the political world, the economy, natural disasters, you name it, often take our attention away, I've always so found that exploring nature, either through the great outdoors, in a garden, or by reading up about certain things to do with nature, is a wonderful way to gain perspective on life. It does not mean we ignore current events, but we can balance the doom and gloom by filling our attention on the wonders of the natural world and how plants can be a great source of healing. So I'm going to go through some of my personal summer picks so far. Now, I was lucky enough to find them in my local library, but they're widely available on every form you can imagine: ebook, hard copy, paperback, um, audio, however you like to do your books. These are definitely available, but I got them through my local library. Now, the first read just was an amazing romp, and it's called Entangled Life: How Fungi Make Our Worlds, Change Our Minds, and Shape Our Futures by Merlin Sheldrake. Now, I was completing some research for my medicinal mushroom segment of the Botanical Medicine Study course, and it's also available through the Patreon page as an individual lesson if you like. It's really interesting. And this book came up, and what an amazing read. The author, Merlin Sheldrake, is a biologist and he's a writer and he's a speaker. He's got a tour coming up, and in the program notes, I have his webpage. You can go there and you can, if you want to hear him in person, I highly recommend it. Um, and his background is in plant scientists. He has a PhD. He also has a background in microbiology, ecology, and the history and philosophy of science. Now, usually when we think of fungi, we mostly think of mushrooms, but mushrooms are only the fruiting bodies of the fungi world. And these mushrooms are analogous to apples on a tree. Now, most fungi that affect our lives live out of sight, yet they make up an incredible, diverse kingdom of organisms that support and sustain nearly all living systems. Uh, it's just, I'm telling you, this is a rabbit hole you would love to get lost in. I mean, it just all the different societies and places to learn how to grow and identify and things like that. Now, if you are like me, you knew that name Sheldrake. That's not a common name. And Merlin, I think, is a great first name, but Merlin is the son of Rupert Sheldrake. And he is a very controversial, but I consider evolutionary, revolutionary scientist who has a PhD in biochemistry and has developed the theory of morphic resonance. And it's basically how nature responds to more than physical inputs. Now, this theory has not been accepted by academia. Um, so you might say, in terms of the book on mushrooms, the spore, the sun does not float far from the gills. It's a little mushroom botany humor there. Now, Merlin's book on fungi is just a mind-bending journey into this incredible world. He explores all aspects of fungi, ranging from yeast to psychedelics, to the fungi that sprawl for miles underground and are the largest organisms on the planet, to the little things in the soil that make all plant life possible. So I think he's very thorough in his research. But for me, what was really, I'd never heard this before. And I'm so grateful that this book opened up my mind, was the fact that in the beginning of our earth, in the very beginning days, the soil had all this potential for photosynthesis in the outer crust, but no former structure for this to occur. And what happened was, through cooperation with the fungi, plants and what we would call algae were able to create structures together in order to allow photosynthesis to proceed. And that's really interesting. I mean, there's lots of debates on how the world started, but it's just like, wow, that's how that started. Something, chloroplasts, photosynthesis is all of life depends on this. And what's helped start that was this cooperation between the structures that wanted to photosynthesize and fungi. That's really amazing. Now, this book will open your eyes to worlds you never knew were there, but actually your very life is dependent on it. And what I really loved about this book was that the fungi, he opened up my eyes to how the fungi incorporate symbiosis and collaboration in order for life to exist. And I think this is something we should all strive toward these days. This book is very well written, it's informative, and I would even say it's actually entertaining. I found it just delightful. I was sorry when it was done. I was like, oh, I want more. Um, so it's a really great read. I highly recommend this for a summer read. There are a couple editions available. There's an illustrated edition, and there's a mostly text uh, edition. And again, I have his website, which has all sorts of information on how you can order this incredible book. Now, the next book that I highly recommend is called The Plant Hunter. And this is a scientist's quest for nature's next medicines. And this is by Dr. Cassandra Leah Quave. I think that's how you pronounce her name, Quave or Quave, one of those two. But this is just a gem that I got up at my local library. And one of the testimonials in the press releases says, "You won't be able to put it down." And let me tell you, that is actually true. This book is really an autobiography of what her inspirations were and how she progressed through the world of ethnobotany, traveling around the world, talking with native healers as well as everyday people about what sort of plants they use for healing. And as a scientist, she would document the plants and analyze them using modern technology to see if the plants that the natives were using for certain conditions have any sort of application in modern medicine. Now, the autobiography part of this is her documenting and conveying her lifelong complications from her father's exposure to Agent Orange. Her father fought in Vietnam and was exposed to Agent Orange. And because of this, she was missing bones in her feet and all sorts of things. But what as a result of this, it made Dr. Quave a lifelong consumer of health care. And it was through these personal challenges, especially as a child, that she decided to study medicine. And then, because of a gap year research project that took her down to, I think it was Ecuador, I think, she decided she actually wanted to study plants and plant medicine. So she picked pharmacognosy and ethnobotany. Now, she has a podcast and a really interesting website. And her book was written in 2022, but it's still a bestseller. And for me personally, her discoveries while talking to Albanian ethnic groups in the mountains of Italy, and I was served in Peace Corps in Albania and worked with an herbalist. So this was a wonderful, oh, wow, for me, something I could relate to. But she was talking to Albanian ethnic groups in the mountains of Italy, and she talked to shamans in the rainforests of Ecuador. And her relaying of these experiences is worthy of travel documentaries. I mean, it's just so well written. And in all of her stories, she relates how she juggled her medical challenges, her health challenges. And she's a mother of four. And she worked on her PhD while she was pregnant and breastfeeding and doing postdoc research, with several children. And I mean, it's a really interesting, also a really interesting story about women in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and medicine, and the challenges that they receive and how she actually juggled everything. It was quite amazing. Um, so she's an inspiration, and her approach to exploring nature to address several global challenges, such as antibiotic resistant bacterial infections, is a wake up call, but it's also a confirmation. That's what I got out of this, that nature has much to offer if we would only turn to the world of plants in modern medicine. So, highly recommend this. Subscribe to her podcast. Just immerse yourself in this. Now, last but not least, if you're wanting a lighter fare, even though they're murder mysteries, any of the Brother Cadfael mystery novels, and these are, I guess, 30, 40, 50 years old, but they're just a fun romp through medieval murder mystery genre. And I don't know if that's a big genre, but Ellis Peters wrote all of this, and that's the Nom de Plume. And I don't remember the name of the woman that actually wrote them, but the name she wrote under was called Ellis Peters. And there's like 20 of these things, 20 or 30, and they're just fun reads. And Brother Cadfael, is a returning crusader uh, and is in Shrewsbury in England, I think it is. I don't know if it's England or Wales, but it's in the United Kingdom somewhere. But anyways, he decides to take the cowl and become a brother, and he runs the apothecary for his monastery. And in medieval monasteries and abbeys, there always was a healing garden, which they called physics, and then there was an orchard, and then there was a kitchen garden. And Brother Cadfael brings all of the knowledge that he got while he was traveling through the Crusades and working with Arab physicians. And he uses this knowledge to solve murders. And I guess during his tenure in Shrewsbury, there's a lot of murder going on, but they're just fun reads. There was a really good, well done BBC series that you might be able to check out of the library, which I did one summer when I was out in Napa, California. St. Helena Public Library is in the middle of all these multi-million dollar uh, you know, vineyards and wine making region. And so all of these really wealthy vintners would donate all their cool books to this library. It was really good. And so that was when I was able to watch the entire series. And it's a well done series. Derek Jacobi is the mainline guy, but reading the books, one of the fun things that I did in my past, I was a docent at the Los Angeles Arboretum, and they would have an evening series of dinners and explorations of the gardens. And I would lead murder mystery parties based on the Brother Cadfael mysteries, and I would hide clues all over this garden and give people scripts, and it just was way too much fun. And that meant that I read a lot of these books and made basically scripts based on it. And it's just really fun. Um, I would say one of the more botanically oriented novels is aptly called Monk's Hood, where the oil with the plant substance is put into someone's food. And Brother Cadfael is blamed for the ultimate death of the person who ate this dish. And obviously, he proves his innocence. But spoiler alert, sorry if I ruined that for everybody. But these books are widely available at used bookstores, libraries. You can order ebooks, you can order audio versions, and I've given links to several of those options. So, however you want to spend your summer reading, and as I said, I mean, I pay attention to world events and I don't drink alcohol, but let me tell you, I'm starting to question that practice. Everything is quite difficult to watch these days and witness and experience on many levels. So if you're needing some escape, I hope you find it through some botanical literature. And until next time, be well.